Candito HDR.
In my most recent video, I mentioned how high bar ass to grass squats are morally superior. If you are a low bar squatter, I highly recommend you try out a high bar ass to grass squat without knee sleeves and take a single immediately without training it. I went from squatting 525 to 405 at about the same difficulty. It was disgusting. I ran an introductory phase now for 4 weeks, and I'm going to switch over completely to high bar ass to grass squats. So my primary day was 3 sets of 5 for the first 3 weeks, and then my secondary day was 4 sets of 4 on the pause squat. And this led to a pretty smooth 440-pound single, and then finally a 475-pound single that didn't videotape. So the next phase after that is this phase, which is a 5-week hypertrophy cycle. Now the goal here is going to be to build up to a 10 rep max. So I'm increasing the amount of competition volume, competition being the high bar ass to grass squat, in this case, because I'm done with powerlifting. Oh, sorry, that was for a future video, sorry. I'm just joking, right? Anyways, if you are cutting weight and focusing on building muscle, then what you know is important is protein intake. And to get sufficient protein intake, it has to taste good. So the main sponsor for today's video is an exciting one because it's cereal protein, and that is Magic Spoon. I've had more bowls of cereal than anyone you've ever known, relative to years on this planet. I feel confident making that claim. Now, if you want to disagree with me, you can comment below, but you're probably wrong. So due to my immense experience when it comes to cereal, all that really matters, of course, is taste. Does it taste good? That's it. So with Magic Spoon, it's pretty interesting because they sent me over some samples, and it's 140 calories, 13 to 14 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, no gluten, and no soy. So the question with all of that is just, like I said, does that taste good? And not only did it taste good, but when making this video, they sent me 8 boxes, and you guys know I take my sweet old time when it comes to making videos. So I was working on this video, and I ate 7 out of 8 boxes. And it became a delayed gratification test to not have that 8th box so that I could actually show you guys the cereal itself. So all of the flavors that I got obviously then taste quite good. So the first flavor that I would put as number 1 is chocolate, is cocoa. That one tastes the best in my opinion. Number 2 is frosting. Now this is the most unique tasting one. So number 3 I would say peanut butter. And then number 4 is fruity. So in order to buy it, click the link in the description. It's magicspoon.com/Candito, or you can go on their site and just use Candito as a discount. And it is a dream sponsorship, first of all, to just be with a company that is a cereal company. If I were you guys, I would just at least for one time, just give it a shot. Okay, I'm at this gym in Austin that was $8. So we're gonna see what $8 gets you. If it's a tiny gym or if it's surprisingly good. I'm actually kind of nervous to see this. Not bad. It's a perfect place to squat. What I'll do for today's video is in the description I'll have the full program that I'm running. It's a squat program for the 10 rep max. That's the focus. And it's very simple, especially if you're not used to using RPE. This is a really great basic way to get introduced to it. My goal is 405 for 10 reps. Now you may be thinking, but Johnny, you've hit 405 pounds for 15 reps. That is true. However, I was over 187 pounds at the time. And for this 10 rep test, ideally it's going to be at around RP 8 or so. And it's also, one of my introductory phases here. So I'm not well conditioned to the lift. If you know anyone who's just floating in the gym, doesn't have a coach or a specific plan, then I highly recommend you share this with them and they just give it a shot. There's something special, especially about squatting ass to grass for mid to higher reps, where it builds character, obviously it builds muscle, you get a deep stretch, it builds flexibility, and ultimately it opens you up to whatever you want to do next. You can do this as a bodybuilder, just trying to put on mass on your quads. I've always found that ass to grass squats actually build my vertical leap better than any other variation. But if you do want to focus on low bar squats later, then obviously it will transfer to that as well, or to front squats later. So it really is one of the most dynamic movements, and in my opinion, it is the best lift in the gym. There's something unique about just going to a full range of motion, not worrying about a competition context or comparing to the next man, just going as deep as you humanly can. So as you can see here today, I actually had a pretty meaningful hip shift on that single, and I also had it when I squatted 440 pounds earlier. So that's something that I do need to address because it is consistently showing up in my end range of motion, which is something that, even though it doesn't cause pain and asymmetry is not inherently an issue, it's something worth addressing. So like I mentioned, I had a 4-week motor control emphasis introduction. Then this is a 5-week 10 rep max phase. And then after this, I'll run a 7-week peak, aka the Candito 7-week program. It's only 425 pounds. I am super happy with how that moved. And that is because not only am I not used to this lift, but also historically, my squat has actually been pretty low as I've dropped body weight. Actually, I don't think as a 165 pound lifter, which is what I'm eventually moving to, I don't think I've ever even squatted over 500 pounds ATG. And I remember even when low bar squatting, there was actually a time where low bar squatting, I was only hitting like 425 for meaningful volume work while I was deadlifting 635 for 4. So my deadlift was as strong as it's ever been, probably a 680 to 700 pound deadlift. But my squat was, I mean, it's still like 523, but it was like a dirty low bar 523. Whereas, I'm slowly moving to a very clean, high bar, pristine, morally superior 525. But we'll see. So that's why even though I've squatted 625 pounds in my past, I'm still very happy with this. But it's also a testament to the fact of using singles even when you are going to enter a hypertrophy phase. And I did singles prior to this as I'm adapting to this lift. Because had I just transitioned into only doing sets of 10 or sets of 12 immediately, I probably wouldn't be touching meaningful load. And when you can squat over 600 pounds low bar, you have to touch meaningful weights. It's just wasting your time if you're delaying getting to 4 plates and beyond. So I am super glad that I'm keeping these singles in and not just immediately going to 5 sets of 10. So let's get into some specifics here. So what this workout is today is a top set. First of all, that was a single at RPE 5 starting it off. So that's 425. That was actually my cap for that just because I didn't want to keep reattempting. I honestly thought that maybe 405 would just be RP 5, given its pretty low hype. And I was really happy that 415 and 425 just flew. So the top set of 10 here is at RP 6.5. And then what's going to be is reduced by 10 pounds each set for 3x10. So this actually is significantly harder than you would think to hit RP 6.5 actual top set of 10. A lot of people just imagine that anything with RP 6 or 6.5 just sounds super easy. But if you're saying you literally only have 3.5 reps in the reserve, you're pushing very hard. So that is a very big misconception. And also, it's very important to pyramid sets down if you are hitting higher reps, because otherwise you're not really going to reach an effective level of RPE, really. Is because if you even do a 3x10, but RP 7 is the third set, your first set's actually going to be drastically easier than RP 6.5 even. I know Chris Beardsley has written extensively about this idea. So overall, the focus of this program is to have enough difficulty and to push enough to where you're increasing volume on the ass-to-grass squat. However, it's not overdoing it. And that's something where it's super critical. And a lot of people do that incorrectly. Is they blast volume on their volume phase, and then they lower volume a month out during their peak because, okay, now it's time to peak, so focus on strength. And then the peak's just trash. And it takes a while to adapt to heavier weights because they didn't do singles on the hypertrophy phase. And then they also peak too early because they cut the volume way too soon on the peaking phase. So that is a classic mistake. And one of the things that was even difficult for myself was to only do 3 sets here. Not do a 5x10, not even do a 4x10. Just do 3 sets and then do 3 sets on a barbell accessory and then 2 sets on multiple machine movements. So this is actually the most even hypertrophy phase I've ever done, probably my life, leading into 10 rep max. But as you can see here, that pause turned out to be a mistake. I put 230 pounds on here for the front squat because I refuse to do any lower body movement with just 225 pounds. Now this lift will be an exception to what I talked about with pyramiding down. This is actually just straight sets starting at RP5 for 3x8, but keep the weight the same the entire way. The reason being is I'm just going to linearly load for the entire cycle on this lift. as opposed to changing rep ranges, which I will do on the primary lift, being the astrogras high bar squat. So that makes a difference. And anytime you're untrained in a lift, you're going to have immediate motor control adaptations to where you may actually get stronger during the workout itself just by becoming used to the lift. So that's definitely what happened here. And obviously 230 pounds is baby weight. It's disgusting. It's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy. But I'll have plenty of time to redeem myself, as the front squat progression will be 3 sets of 8 on week 1. On week 2, 3 sets of 8 as well. Then on week 3, 2 sets of 8. And on week 4, it'll be a test set, 1 set of 8 at RP 8. And on there, I'll go for 275 to 315 or more. Whereas with the primary squat, the focus is different. It's more even throughout, and that's a key feature. So it'll be 3 sets of 10 at RP 6.5 like you saw today. Then 4 sets of 6 on the secondary day at RP 7 on the last set. That day will be straight sets and no accessory work. Then the next week, it will be sets of 10 with RP 7.5 cap, and then 4 sets of 6 again on the secondary day with RP 8 cap. Then on week 3, it'll shift down to 7s at RP 6.5, and then a 5x5 on that secondary day, and repeat a similar progression. Only on that last secondary day will the 5x5 turn into a 3x5, and that will be the taper. That's enough. No volume drop otherwise. I'm in a dilemma. I overshot that leg press, but I only loaded 100-pound plates, and then also 5-pound plates. So do I just remove the 5-pound plates and risk overshooting again? Or do I completely remove the 100-pound plates and then have 2 45-pound plates per side? So that's 4 45-pound plates I would need to move in, 2 100-pound plates I need to move out. I'll just rest a little bit extra and risk overshooting again. Fuck it. In my opinion, the leg press has become underrated, both for general strength and powerlifting. It's easy to reach a difficult RPE, and ultimately that's what you're after on a slot like this. There's no focus on motor control. There's not a concern with fatigue debt or anything like that, like a barbell lift. And I would actually argue it could be more useful than the front squat. So I was just trying to push this hard, and I was very fatigued, so normally I'd be able to push this much heavier. What would Ronnie Coleman think?
Yeah. Come on, baby. Come on. 7. Yeah. Come on. 8. Yeah. Man. Whoa. Whoa.
The last point is setting yourself up for success in the next cycle. But in order for me to have time to talk about this, let's slow it down. Perfect. So it's very important when dealing with volume that you're careful, because it's such a strong factor. And it is very easy for the next cycle to then just kind of be doomed. And that's why you need at least one thing that you can say, this is going to be the key on that. This is going to be something I'm going to flip that's going to be my wild card. So for the 7-week cycle, it's going to be squat frequency. I'm going to squat 3 times a week. And I've been squatting twice a week up until now. Before the volume phase, I was doing a pause squat that I replaced with more volume on the regular squat. So each cycle just has that one factor where I know it's going to go well due to that. Now finally I ended this with a box jump that was several inches above my height. This was honestly the best box jump I've ever done. I'm amazed I got it.